Good morning and welcome to the Social Services Information System, SSIS 22.4 release training. My name is Ross. My pronouns are he, him, his. I do work for the Department of Human Services, DHS, as an e-learning developer in the Business Operations Learning and Development Unit. Renette Walk is also on today. She's with the Business Operations Learning and Development Unit as well as a teaching specialist trainer, and she'll be our presenter for today. Other staff assisting today includes Heidi Morris. She's from Business Operations Help Desk Unit SSIS Mentor Coordinator. Heidi is available to assist with any technical difficulties. Reach out to Heidi directly using the chat feature. We also have Molly Kohler and Sam Breidenbach. They are both fiscal SMEs. And we have Marcia Riss, who's a worker SME from the Business Operations Help Desk. They will help us monitor the Q&A section and answer questions as needed. Just a quick reminder, we are recording today's release training. We have an hour or so to share a lot of content today, so I have a few housekeeping items that we need everyone to follow. Your mics are muted because we are recording. Remember to hide your video to preserve your bandwidth. Type your questions in the Q&A window. We will answer questions after each section. The slide on your screen is an image of Zoom's control panel. The bottom row of the application is where you'll complete most of the tasks that you'll need for today. We'll explain the functions of each button, starting on the far left side. To join audio or unmute, this button allows you to join the conference audio, and once you're connected, allows you to mute and unmute yourself. The up arrows to the right of the buttons allow you to change your microphone input sources. The start stop video, this button will allow you to join the conference video stream by using your webcam. The up arrow to the right of the button allows you to change your video input source. Participants, this button will allow you to see the list of participants in the training. It will also give you access to nonverbal interaction feature of the platform. We'll go over these more in depth on the next slide. Q&A, this button allows you to add or read questions and SME posted responses. And the chat, this button will allow you to chat with the group as well as trainers or other learners. We'll have limited use of this button during today's training. It's more or less going to be used to get technical support. And then reactions, these buttons allow you to send either a clapping or thumbs up or whatever emoji you would like to send to the trainer. And then, of course, the leave meeting, which of course you won't use till the end. Use the button to leave this meeting. Today's release training will cover the following functionality changes: special announcements, adult protection general reports, business organization, documents, fiscal, permanency, continuous placement, person, service plans, CMH, individual family community support plan, package release, and resources. Marcia's up first with the special announcements. Take it away, Marcia.
Thanks, Ross. Good morning. A concern was reported earlier this month regarding Purge, and so quite a few agencies have been contacted, not all. Agencies that had Purge scheduled to take place before the issue was fully researched and resolved had their Purge day in SSIS admin set to 0, and we requested them to hold off on changing that and starting Purge or running Purge again for the time being. So if you have not been contacted thus far, you can disregard this at this time. We're nearing a fix. Actually, I got an update this morning that we think it'll happen today or tomorrow at the latest. So we're nearing that fix, and we hope to have more information then out to all agencies that were affected later this week. So you'll get an update from us if you've already been contacted asking you to hold off on purging. You'll get a contact from us letting you know when you can resume Purge. So just wanted to lay that out there since there's quite a few agencies that were contacted about that. If you weren't contacted, please disregard. Next slide. Thanks, Renata. So excuse me, another thing we wanted to do is we wanted to really acknowledge and send a special thanks to Freeborn, Chippewa, and Red Lake counties for volunteering to pilot the 22.4 release. So additionally, we also want to acknowledge and thank St. Louis County for agreeing to pilot the 22.4 post-package release, which will happen a little later in December. So we just want to give a thank you. It's always a hard thing to take on a little bit of extra work. And so we really appreciate those agencies that have been doing that for us. So thank you so much. And I think we are going to move on to adult protection. So for our first topic today, it's adult protection. And I'm going to invite Renata Wack to take you through the 22.4 release items. Thanks, Renata.
Thanks, Marcia. Okay, so we're going to talk briefly about general reports specific to adult protection. So the image on the screen shows the general reports adult maltreatment folder with the initial disposition exceeding 5 business days and the APS LIA county report action completed within 5 business days highlighted. Those grid reports are the reports that we are referring to for this release. So in the previous version of SSIS, these reports miscalculated the count by using the intake workgroup close date. The count of 5 business days was updated for this release to calculate the count of days from the date the MARC report was received by the county and the agency report action decision date, excluding holidays and weekends. Are there any questions? And again, remember to post your questions under the Q&A section, and one of our SMEs will address the questions at the end of each section. So are there any questions related to adult protection?
Nothing as of yet, Renata.
Okay. Well, we will continue on. Our next topic is business organization. And here the image displays the business organization foster care / daycare provider tab. And it's highlighting the family structure field. And there you can see all the drop-down options. That's what we will refer to on this slide. So the marital status updates to the family structure options were changed to meet compliance with AFCARS. And we have renamed the married couple to now display as couple, married. We renamed the unmarried couple to couple, unmarried. And there are 4 new options that we've added. We've added single adult, separated, non-couple, and more than 2 adults. So the codes for single female and single male have also been inactivated. And these descriptions will continue to display single male or single female if they were previously selected. However, they are no longer available as of this release for selection as an option. So you don't have to jot everything down that I just said because I have it listed for you on this next slide. So we will just continue on to the questions. Are there any questions?
This is Molly. Melissa Helgeson asked, she's going back to the first adult protection. So to clarify, the intake does not need to close within 5 days if a decision has been made.
So let's see, do we have Kelly on the call with us, Kelly Klein? Kelly is our
I don't see her, Renata.
adult protection policy person. So what I'm going to do, Melissa, let's just hold off on your question. And I will reach out to Kelly so that she can certainly give you the policy decision around the question that you're asking. So we will come back and circle back if we do not have time to get back around to answer this question today. We will certainly make an answer available to the entire group to the question that was posted. Any other questions? Okay, well, it looks like we are going to continue on.
Renetta,
our-
sorry, this is Molly again.
Oh, go ahead.
Brenda, oh, it looks like Heidi just shared the PowerPoint. Somebody was asking if the PowerPoint was shared prior to.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Sorry.
Thanks, Heidi. Thanks, Molly. That's all right. All right, so documents, that's our next section here. And in this release, there were 3 updates that included fixes to some bugs that were already known in the application. So let's take a look at what we were able to fix this release relating to documents. So the first bug fix was due to an issue that caused your agency logo not to print on local documents after you created a new header footer in the editor. Now you can paste your logo into the new HTML header or into a new HTML header. That's not a new feature, but you can paste it now without losing the logo. So everything should work as originally designed. And the image on the slide is just an image showing an agency logo that is now able to be printed when you add a logo to an HTML header. So this screenshot on the current slide is an image of the redaction key for the confidential information form 11.4. And this was another bug fix that affected all RTF documents and service plans. And the bug prevented you from using the redaction key. So SSIS wouldn't generate that redaction key. But now you can use the redaction functionality again as designed for all RTF documents and service plans. Any questions?
Nothing new.
Nothing yet? Okay. So we will move over to fiscal. That's our next topic. And Molly, I believe you are up. So I will go ahead and pass it to Molly to cover the fiscal.
Yes, thank you, Renetta. And we can just go to the next slide, please. All right, so we are very excited to announce that we have made an enhancement to our county subservice codes. They are presently a 2-digit code with only Katrina and the COVID related as the state entered at this time. Coming in version 22.4, we have added 3-digit codes. The codes 100 through 399 will be available and editable, by agencies. And then county subservice codes 400 through 999 will only be enterable and editable by us as the state users. And if an agency attempts to add a county subservice code in the 400 to 999 span of numbers, you will receive an error message just letting you know that those numbers are reserved for state use only. So I'm very excited about this. Hopefully this will allow some more flexibility at the agencies and will provide, a deeper drill down for expenditures and things like that. Next slide, please. We have added a new field drop down in the 4E subcode area in the highlighted where it says services provided. This will display if a facility has one of the FFPSA certified settings. So it will allow users when they're setting up service arrangements or payments, the ability to determine better if there is a specialized setting for the particular facility that the agencies are paying. And next slide, please. We realized there was a defect with proofing message 1289 that has been fixed in version 22.4. It was just displaying an incorrect service date at times. So again, that's been fixed. And then for proofing message 1287, the claiming logic for QRTP settings has been removed from this proofing message. So it will only now show for the SILS specialized settings. And next slide, please. And this slide is just showing a few more of the proofing messages that we have entered into SSIS regarding QRTP placements. I'm not going to go into detail with each proofing message. I am working on the child foster care proofing message documentation that provides the condition and the possible solutions to fix each of these proofing messages. And we will also go into a little bit more detail on these, all the Family First proofing messages in the December coffee talk. So hopefully I will have the child foster care report proofing message document out and posted here in the very near future. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. Any questions on any of the slides that I went over?
There is a question. This is from Myra. It says, can you please clarify what the fix was for the proofing messages?
There was just some calculation in the background that would miss sometimes, so that has been fixed. It wasn't anything the front-facing agencies saw. It was just a calculation in the background.
Are there any other messages, questions?
One more came in.
Okay.
This is from Bonita. It says, for the proofing messages, so for the example, Little Sand Group Home, it is on the certified facility list, but we are still not able to claim for E past the 15 days. That is what the proofing message says. Is that accurate?
I think I'll have I can't answer that one as a general question. It's very client specific and facility specific. So I would have to look into the specific client that you're seeing this proofing message for to know if it's something that is going to be fixed in this next release or if there's something, actually going on with the facility. So I can follow up with you, Bonnie.
And it looks like that's it.
Okay. All right. We will move on to talk about permanency. And this next section will cover all of the changes in this release that are related to permanency. So let's go ahead and take a look here. The image on the slide is a screenshot of the new AFCAR's requirements to add to the continuous placement screen, or that were added to the continuous placement screen on the continuous placement tab. And the area in particular that we are going to focus on is the transfer agency detail drop-down menu. And this particular field enables when the reason discharge is transfer to another agency and the discharge entry date is October 1st, 2022 or greater. When this field is enabled, it's required. And there are your 7 available options that display in that screenshot. I'm not going to read through them, but you would select one of those options. And again, you must make a selection in order to save the screen once the transfer agency detail field enables. So I just want to point out, many of you already know this, but just kind of want to stress that we do have help text in SSIS in various places throughout the application. Anywhere you see the blue underlined text, if you click on that text, for example, the transfer agency detail, that will open the help field, and you can get more information about what it is we're asking in a particular question, or the options within the drop-down menu provided for that particular field. So be sure to use the help text and encourage staff at your agency to use the help text as well. I know our SMEs have been working so hard with getting the help text updated throughout the application. We're certainly not completely updated with everything, but we have been updating quite a bit of the help text in SSIS. So be sure to click on that help text anytime you see the blue underline text within SSIS. So this next screen, we have a screenshot of the new AFCARS requirement that was added to the continuous placement screen on the continuous placement tab. And this is a new question. And the question is, child is receiving financial support from a religious organization, a trust fund, or an uncommon form of financial support. And this particular question has a yes or no option. Workers would just make their selection. The question itself, again, is blue underline text, so there's more help available should you want to see a little bit more of a explanation or description of this field. And this particular field, although it is an AFCARS requirement, is not required to save the screen. So hopefully workers are still answering this question. Okay, we're going to move on to this next slide. And on slide 26, we have an image of another new AFCARS requirement. And this again is on the continuous placement screen for the continuous placement tab. There are two revisions to the AFCARS finalized adoptive / kinship placement information section. Child was placed for adoption from, and child was placed by questions will no longer enable for placements when the reason discharged is either adoption finalized or tribal customary adoption, and so it's both. The discharge entry date is on or after October 1st, 2022. So these two questions collected information needed for AFCARS reporting and will only display the information that was previously entered, but they are no longer available in the current release. So our next slide here, we have an image of another new AFCARS requirement on that continuous placement screen, continuous placement tab specifically. And here, I'm just going to explain this change using the screenshot. You don't have to jot everything down because I do have another slide that will go through the written details for you, but let's just kind of take a look at the image that we have here. So does the child have siblings in the same adoptive / kinship home? That question enables for placements with the reason discharged of either adoption finalized, tribal customary adoption, or TPL-PC, and where the discharge entry date is on or after October 1st. And then the next field, number of siblings in the adoptive / kinship home. This field enables and is required when you answer yes to does the child have siblings in the same adoptive / kinship home. Once this field enables, you'll need to select the number of siblings. So you have the option from the number 1 through 50 to select or enter you enter a number, there's no selection, but you'll enter the number 1 through 50, depending on the actual number of siblings in the home. So that's the slide 28. Slide 28 has everything that I just covered for you there. And then we're going to move on to slide 29. And this is an additional update. And this is regarding the foster parent relationship to the child. So the foster parent relationship must agree with the placement setting. And these are error messages. So the data cleanup messages. So you will see this error message if there is an incongruent between the foster parent relationship and what we show on the placement screens. So let's, I'm not going to read through the error message. It is the first bullet there. And then the second message, we've added an end date so that it's applicable only for placements that ended before tomorrow, before this release. So 11/29/22. Today, tomorrow, I'll get the dates right pretty soon here. Let's see here. So here's another data cleanup error message. At least one foster parent relationship to the child must match the current placement setting. The data cleanup needs to be or will display for any entries after October 1st, 2022. And then the foster parents listed on the foster parent tab of the placement must match the individual foster parents listed as the biz org provider. So, and again, the date that we need to really keep in mind is October 1st, 2022. So any placements after that date, on or after that date. We know that there are minor defects that will be fixed in 23.1, and you can take a look at the known defects list to find the details. The most obvious is the data cleanup will show no matter the placement start date. So we're stressing the October 1st, 2022. So you'll still see the error message for placements that started prior to this. So just know that you are able to still work through, and if you're ready to close, you can close your work group. You can continue to do the work necessary in the work group. That is a known bug, and there are a few others. So be sure you're taking a look at that known defects list so that you are aware of any bugs related to the data cleanup error messages. And we're just going to move on to questions. Are there any questions?
Nothing new yet.
Okay. All right, then we'll keep going. And again, if you have a question related to any of the topics that were previously presented, feel free to just jot it down in the Q&A, and we will address those questions at the end of the session if we have time. And if not, we will certainly address them in an after release training Q&A to the entire group. So now we're going to move on to the person tab so that we can talk a little bit about the updates or changes to the person, or the client node is what we're kind of talking about here. So the image on the screen is an image of the person node, relationship folder, and then the drop down menu for the relationship. That's what we have on the left image. On the right side is the permanency folder, placement, location, and absences folder. And the drop down menu under the can or the relationship shows the can options. And we have these two images just so that we can really stress that there was an update to the descriptions, the way that the descriptions now display in the application. And this was done to clarify the policies understanding of the relationship between a previous foster parent and a child that they are fostering. Foster parents who have previously fostered a child within the previous months of a current placement can also be considered for adoption or kinship as well, and can be considered kin. So the update to this relationship field, or the descriptions, we have changed the previous foster parent, parentheses kin, and the previous foster child and previous foster parent, non-relative / previous foster child. The way it was worded, we've changed that now to read kin, so that you see kin first, previous foster parent, and kin, previous foster child. And we've also adjusted the description so that kin will group together, so that you can find that a lot easier under the relationship drop-down menu. Are there any questions?
I'm not seeing anything new as of yet.
Okay. So we'll keep cruising right on through, and we're gonna take a look at the service plans folder. And their image here is of the child or youth's education folder. So we're gonna talk about the children's mental health individual, family, community support plan, IFCSP, and we have a new requirement. And it's not that it is new. It is really that you're going to now be required to have this entry done prior to selecting an education record off of the IFCSP's setup tab. So let's just start first with the entry that I'm talking about. So this is for the education record. So prior to completing that setup tab, all you must enter a school record under the client's person node. And the screenshot just shows the client node, of course, with the education record or folder highlighted, so that workers remember to complete this prior to completing the setup tab. So on the next slide is an image of the setup tab for the IFCSP, and the education section is highlighted. And this is highlighted to show that as long as an education record was entered in the tree view under the person node, then that record is available for selection from this education field on the setup tab. You will no longer receive an error message on the setup tab when you're entering these fields, but what will happen if there's no record entered on the tree view, this particular field will be blank and you cannot make a selection. So workers will need to go back to the tree, enter that information, come back to the setup tab, and make a selection in the education field. And then what happens is on the document tab, the IFCSP's document tab, once you move down to the educational, vocational, recreational, functioning section, you'll notice the school name and grade will pull in from what was selected on the setup tab. So again, if you are looking at the document tab and this is blank, then you'll need to go back to the tree view, enter the education record, go to the setup tab, select the education record from the education fields drop down, and then you'll be able to pull it in. You will no longer be able to type this information in here as you were able to do previously. So now it's just a requirement that you enter it in the tree view. So I know I sound like a broken record going over that over and over again, but it's extremely important that we make sure the staff is actually entering those records under the tree view folder, education folder, before making any selections for the service plan for the the IFCSP. And this is no different than what workers have been doing for the out of home placement plan. So it's pretty much the same thing. This plan, we let you type into the plan in the past, but you no longer have that as an option. Any questions?
Nope, I don't see any questions yet.
All right. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to the 22.4 post-package release. And Marcia, you're up, so go ahead and jump right in and take us through the post-package release.
Great, thanks, Renetta. So because of the complexity of the work surrounding the Qualified Residential Treatment Program, so the QRTP, the EPR function, so that's the Extended Placement Review calculation function, and the related proofing messages that go along with that, there's going to be a post 22.4 package release in December. So we have a week-long pilot planned for that, the pilot just those specific items for about mid-December. And we're going to inform agencies of the release dates closer to that time. So once we know, yep, things went well, we will let agencies know when that statewide release is expected. I would expect at this moment for us to release this statewide by mid to late December. And it's my understanding that isn't going to mean like additional downtime. It's something that we will just push out. So if you want to move on to the next slide, Renetta. So what this involves, so this slide has an image of the Qualified Residential Treatment Program Extended Placement Review screen. Gosh, that's a mouthful. So I'm going to say QRTP EPR. Hopefully everybody knows what that is there. So it has an image of that screen with the Calculate Review Period button. I'm sorry, Calculate Review Period Detail button section highlighted there in the top left. So that button has been disabled for a while now since we created it because we've been working on that calculation. It's pretty complicated. So when it's enabled in the post-package release, when it's enabled, that QRTP function to calculate the review period detail will auto-populate the next 4 fields. So that's the age at the beginning of the review period, the review type, and the review period from and to date. Those will all auto-populate. Right now, you're manually entering those, which leaves, of course, some room for mistakes, right? So the function tracks the current and most recent continuous placement, the applicable certified QRTP placement, the age of the child on the first date of the review period, and both the consecutive and non-consecutive days that the child is in placement for which the facility is certified to provide QRTP services, right? So it's quite a bit that it's trying to track, which is why it's so complicated. The function will calculate when it's time to conduct a review based upon the child's age and the days in the certified QRTP placement. Instead of workers manually determining these fields, they'll be able to just click that button to have them auto-populate based on the system calculations. The function will also send an alert in the workers' alerts and reminders log 30 days prior to the review period to date to notify the caseworker that an extended placement review, that EPR, needs to be conducted. The post 22.4 package release will include the change to turn on this calculate review period detail button. Thus far, that's been inactivated. So currently, you're still going to go in, even right after this coming 22.4 release, it's going to still be inactivated. So it's during the post-package release that once we push that out, that's when this will be activated. So we also plan to review this information again in the December coffee talk. So I think it'll make more sense once it's actually out and working. But I just want to make sure that if you are interested in that, this is something that you're working with. You want to make sure that you're also attending that December coffee talk. Please check that out. Renata, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So I want to point out again where to find the QRTP EPR screen. This slide displays an image of how to find the QRTP EPR screen. So you have a a client or under the either the person search or under the participant information. And if you go down to the permanency folder, expand that and go to the QRTP documentation folder, and there you'll find the QRTP extended placement review. This is where you can create a new EPR, or you can click on one of the already created ones. So like you see the folder that says create date 7/29/22, that's the already created one. So when I've highlighted that, you see that particular EPR information. Next slide, please. So we want to show the full screen. I realize this is probably small on some screens, but I wanted to kind of point out a couple of things when you see this entire screen. So the image here has the calculate review period detail button, and that's the one in red highlighted button, as well as the agency review status section highlighted in blue in the bottom section. So I mentioned earlier that it's important to pay attention to that 30-day alert. And we mentioned on that screen, even when closing a placement. So I want to talk a little bit more about that here. If a QRTP placement closes after the 30-day alert has been generated, so you get within 30 days of an EPR being due, the system generates the alert in your alerts and reminders. So it's recommended if that happens, that the QRTP EPR is completed before closing that placement. So for example, if you were going to close that placement before that 30 days, so before the EPR was really due, we still recommend completing that if you are continuing with this continuous placement. So in other words, the child's moving to another placement, maybe not a QRTP, maybe it is a QRTP, but a continuous placement is continuing, right? Because then we're going to be talking about non-consecutive days. So the reason is, so it's a reminder, it is recommended that the QRTP EPR is completed before closing the placement to prevent a shortened review period in a future QRTP placement within the same continuous placement episode. So this is because if the child or youth returns to a QRTP placement within the same continuous placement episode, the non-consecutive days continue to accumulate. So another alert will not be generated. The original alert remains, increasing the possibility that later on that the EPR would be missed when it's due at the start of the next QRTP placement in the CPE. So you don't get, it doesn't start over all the timeline, right? Because we have that non-consecutive QRTP. So for example, the QRTP placement EPR alert is generated. It appears in the alerts and reminders for the worker. Before the EPR is completed, let's say day 15 after the 30-day alert was generated, the placement ends when the child moves to another placement. So the CPE is continuing, the continuous placement episode, continues. Sometime in that same continuous placement episode, another QRTP placement begins. If the EPR from the original placement was not completed, since the non-consecutive days are still being counted, this means that the worker, in this example, would only have now 15 days remaining at the start of the new QRTP placement to complete that EPR and have it approved. So if it's not completed timely in that second placement with those limited days available for review, the claims will flip back all the way to 15 of the original QRTP placement in this continuous placement episode. So it just makes it extra important that those are done timely and people are paying attention to those particular alerts. So that's why we really would, the recommendation is going to be that you pay attention to those. And like when you're going to close a QRTP placement, if that alert has already been generated, to first complete the extended placement review, even though it might not have been needed at that moment because you're closing, just to keep you safe in the future. Because again, it could flip back all the way to day 15 of the original QRTP placement. Next slide, please. So again, if an EPR is later missed, claiming will flip back to day 15 of the original QRTP in the continuous placement episode. I also want to make note that the review date that is auto-generated for the approver, so you see in that bottom section in red where it says review date, that is editable before the approver approves the QRTP extended placement review. So if the review took place on a date previous, So maybe yesterday I actually did the work as the approver, but I didn't get into SSIS and put my review date and approval in. Then the approver can actually adjust that when they're going to approve it. So they can date it back to yesterday. So even though it's auto generates, at this time, it's still editable. So of course, once it's approved, this is locked. So you don't get to go back once you've already approved it. I just want to make sure that people are aware of that. Thanks, Renata. So other QRTP related updates. So here's some other things that have been updated just to help kind of keep things nice and clean and in line. So the court action screen, there's the QRTP placement approval. Users will now only be able to enter one QRTP 60-day court approval per QRTP placement. So previously, the system didn't stop them from adding a second one, and we were finding, of course, that makes it more difficult for the calculations to be made. There really should only be one 60-day court approval. So the system will now just keep you from being able to enter a second one. Court action screen to the QRTP placement approval added an error message to the QRTP decision date field. So the error message says QRTP decision date must be on or after the QRTP placement start date. So this simply prevents mistakes when entering the date. So it ensures that the 60-day approval is not dated before the QRTP placement start date. On the next one, the person under the permanency folder, under the QRTP documentation folder, when they're adding that new QRTP family and permanency team, users will now only be able to enter one family and permanency team record per QRTP placement. And that's the way it was intended. It just, the system allowed additional ones to be entered. And again, that causes problems when we're trying to have that calculation do the auto calculations. So this just prevents people from making duplicates. And then the last one here, the person permanency, thank you. Person permanency placement folder. So we added a warning message to the placement screen for potentially certified QRTP placements when the BizOrg provider selected does not have a Lindex license. So without an active Lindex license, the QRTP EPR calculation button cannot calculate the EPR information. So be sure to ensure that those Lindex links are added timely to your BizOrgs and your when you're adding those placements to ensure that the alerts are going to be able to calculate and generate timely as well. So those will be important if you're relying on those. So Sam will now explain the post 22.4 release package updates for Fiscal. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks, Marcia. This slide lists the new FFPSA proofing messages that will be added in the post 22.4 package release. These messages were dependent on the QRTP extended placement review calculator function that was complex that Marcia was talking about. And these include proofing messages 1283, 1284, and 1295. All three of these messages relate to missing, late, or denied extended placement reviews that will display in the proofing on the child foster care report. We can move on to the next slide. And these were previous error messages that were reported to the help desk that occurred when printing service arrangements. These error messages have been resolved when printing vouchers from an individual service arrangement. This includes printing under the service arrangement search screen or from the approval log. However, there are remaining error messages when printing under tools, general reports, under the voucher by client or voucher by vendor reports. These error messages will not be resolved until a future release. Until then, use the following workarounds. Once the voucher report has generated and you navigate back to the setup tab to search again for a second voucher, you would select the clear button before you make any changes in the parameters on the setup tab in order to regenerate a voucher. If you don't do this, you might get an error message. So we just recommend that you clear the settings that you had in there and search again for your next one that you're looking for when under the voucher by client or voucher by vendor screen. And if the SSIS session has gone idle, you see this on the lower left-hand side of your SSIS window where it shows the details of your session login. The workaround is to select the clear button on the setup tab again before making any changes in the parameters when you're viewing or printing the voucher. Generate the voucher again to prevent errors. We'll tie up the remaining items of the post-package release and answer any questions on our next slide. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't see anything yet. And just a reminder, these all of the post-package items will also again be reviewed in our December coffee talk. It looks like it's me again. So reminders and resources. So if you can go to the next one, Renetta, thank you. So we wanted to make another little reminder. I sent this out a couple of times over the last couple months in SSIS updates, and I believe we even had a mentor blast when it first occurred. So AFCAR's changes regarding those reduced timelines. So I just wanted to again point out, beginning October 1st, 2022, the federal adoption of foster care analysis and reporting system, so that's AFCAR's, data entry timeliness requirements regarding the entry of the start and discharge dates of placements has changed from 60 days or from a 60-day entry expectation to a 30-day entry expectation. So placement entry dates are not editable in SSIS. They're system generated based on when a user enters the start or discharge date for a placement. Timeliness errors for AFCARs may negatively affect the state 4E federal grant award, which would in turn affect county and tribal agencies that receive these funds. So with the tightened timelines for data entry of placement information potentially impacting those 4E fundings, it will be especially important for agencies to ensure timely entry of placements. So agencies should use the repository report to review, find, and fix AFCARs related errors. And over the coming months, many AFCARs related changes, just like those that Renata talked about earlier in this presentation, will be included in SSIS and the related repository errors. These changes will be included with the SSIS quarterly release notes as well and shared with agencies prior to each release. So you'll continue to see more of these changes as we are updating for AFCARs changes, the AFCARs 2.0. So as well as during the related SSIS Copy Talk releases and webinars. So just want to make sure that people are aware of that, making sure that you're entering placements timely, and that includes the entry of the placement as well as the discharge of the placement. Now you have that 30-day expectation. Next slide, please. And so this month is the start of our new Mentor of the Month series, which we will mention at each monthly SSIS Coffee Talk. So this month we got together and we decided we wanted to celebrate Myra Lopez of Scott County. Thank you, Myra. Myra is the Mentor of the Month. Myra was especially diligent in reviewing Purge, and she was the one that brought the Purge issue that I talked about earlier in this presentation to our attention. So we really appreciate your thoroughness, Myra, and we just wanted to say thank you. And Ross will wrap things up with resources.
All right, well, don't go anywhere because there's another announcement that you want to hear. But first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the resources. If you want to find more information to support your work, check out our version 22.4 release notes on our SSIS County Link resource page. Heidi will put a link in the chat for those of you that want to jump over to it right away. And also you can Google County Link SSIS release notes if you want to get to it that way. Here's the announcement. Join the SSIS Business Operations section at DHS for December's Coffee Talk. This Coffee Talk is going to be SSIS frequently asked questions, help desk, worker, and fiscal. This Coffee Talk session will focus on helpful reminders from the SSIS help desk, common questions and answers from the SSIS worker subject matter experts, as well as the review of some of the recent claiming and proofing updates with the SSIS fiscal SMEs. And Tom Jones, the Minute Division Manager, will begin the Coffee Talk by sharing status updates related to SSIS technical issues. Mark it on your calendars, Tuesday, December 20th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Registration is required and will be open until 1 hour prior to the event. This session will be recorded and posted along with presentation materials to the Minnesota County Welfare Training Academy website 7 to 10 business days following the presentation. And for a recorded version of today's 22.4 release, training will be available in 7 to 10 days. Watch for more information on where to access this recording